want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you. And we're live.
Hey, I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And this guy over here, I will be Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you right here on your home for healthy masculinity. And usually,
I don't know what this is for. Who is this for?
I think this is going to be you know how we usually speak 2 men or 4 men. I think this is going to be a 4 men because this is really going to be 4 women, but 4 men, 2 women who want to know. Because I think the topic of this is really going to the ladies who haven't been listening and maybe need to listen. Maybe need to take some time to go. Because I feel like, and you can chime in and let me know if I'm just cray or not, but I feel like
you cray.
Besides the normal cray, I feel like we keep giving the same answers, but they're not the answers a lot of ladies want to hear. So they don't listen to those answers, and then they keep asking the same questions, and we keep giving the same answers, and they still don't listen to those answers. What do you think?
Well, I would recommend that, it's one of the things that, so University of Michigan is in trouble right now because of sign stealing. New England Patriots have gotten in trouble in the past for the same thing. Where I'm going with that is, you know what? If you want to know your, I don't want to say adversary or opponent, but if you want to know your counter figure or your whatever, you might want to listen. You might want to listen and peep in. Matter of fact, I think at one point the Broncos got caught, like watching filming practices and all that kind of stuff for their opponent. So you might want to chime in or at least listen in on what's going on the other side of the fence.
Yeah,
a lot of times we don't give enough credit. We don't listen in on what's going on.
Well, I mean, like even in the art of war, Sun Tzu said to know thy enemy is the secret to victory. But we keep giving the same answers to the same questions as men, and still the answer's not getting through. And the reason I entitled this one 33 and counting, or 33% and counting, is that right now, 33% of men or young men are just giving up on relationships. And then we have all the ladies going, where are all the good men? Well, look at what it is for these young men, what they're seeing out in the world, and why it's not a good deal. And most of them realize it's not a good deal. And the saddest part is, and I know me being one of them, we really want relationship. It's just, is the juice worth the squeeze nowadays? And the answer basically is no.
Well, first of all, you referenced Sun Tzu. Is his daughter named Susan? Anyhow, hey, I digress.
In the U.S., maybe yes.
I digress. It's funny because it just came to mind. Last time my son was in town, I was at the Diner in Montego talking with him and one of his friends since like 1st or 2nd grade, which is kind of a trip watching these 2 19, 20-year-olds who've known each other basically most of their life at this point. And they were talking about, the state of the union in terms of male-female relations out here in these streets. And so, to me, this is one of those conversations that, ladies, if this is not, if you've checked out, if you don't care about the men in your life or dating life, if you like whatever, if you have a son, this is probably something that your son is experiencing as well. And your son is probably not likely to come to you talking about this. So even if this is one of those topics or concepts, ideas, whatever you want to call it, that you think, I don't care, I don't like men anyway. I don't, I've given up on them. I don't, whatever, poo-poo on them. If you have a son, if you care about your little baby boy, little Timmy or whatever his name is, this is what he's going through in his dating life. And if you care about his dating life, maybe you want to relate to him, then, there's something that you may be interested in.
Well, I mean, just for a moment, stop and think about that number. 33% of young men are just not even trying to have relationships. They're just being single. That's 1/3. That means there's only 2/3 that are even attempting relationships. And I don't know if those are the ones that either don't know, don't care, aren't looking at the statistics. I mean, because at this point, it's a 50-50 option for most marriages, first marriages, and 80% of those marriages are ended by the ladies. So, I mean, it's coming back around to ladies. You got to take accountability and own and start checking some of these ladies out there who are just ruining the party for you, because there's lots of men out there who want relationships, but they don't fit into the sixes. They don't have, they're not 6 feet tall. They don't make six figures. They don't have 6-pack abs and, 6-inch what else and all that stuff. So they don't fit into that category. And so when they see that, and that's all they hear, that you have to be making 6 figures, you have to be a 1%er, you have to be, and one of my favorite things to watch, if you ladies haven't done it, or even you gentlemen, if you want to have a good laugh, there are actually apps that will break down the percentage of somebody finding somebody in that population. So if you're a young woman and you're like, he has to make $500,000 and he has to be 6 foot tall and he has to do X, Y, and Z, put those into that calculator and you'll see that you're looking at less than 0.001% of the population. So you're just making your odds that much less. And then when the guys who could be a good partner for a potential partner see you having these high standards that he can't live up to, he's just going to go, well, why even bother? Because even if she did give me a shot, now I got to live up to that guy's standards that she thinks she deserves, or that she thinks she can get, or that she should have. And it's not a good look for either side, but it's definitely not a good look for the guys, because we're basically logical linear thinkers. We go, okay, well, X, Y, and Z, there you go. What is X equal to? That's less than 50%. That's less than 1%. That's doesn't look like something I want to invest in.
From a guy's perspective, we get measured in terms of relational viability on things that we have to earn, or that we have to somehow cultivate, somehow we have to produce, all these other kind of things. And that's the way it is. That's how we get measured on the value scale in terms of, is this person a valuable partner? However, I think we get broken up with, or relationships in, for the intangible things that don't have so much to do with the things that we produce and the things that we create and the things that we generate. And at the end of those relationships, a lot of times the things that we produce, the things that we create, the things that we generate become things that get taken away from us at the end of the relationship. And on the contrary, the ladies on the feminine side of the scale of the equation, the other side of the fence, the perspective is your value, your viability in terms of, generally speaking, in the Western culture, are things that you can go to a doctor and get. That basically, you can get fake hair, fake lashes, fake eye colors, fake nails, fake lips, fake smooth forehead.
And want a real man.
You can get a BBL, you can get, this and get that, you can get all this other kind of stuff. And somehow that moves you up the ladder of one woman compared to the other. And this is how the rankings and relational viability go. Now, I think that's a problem in terms of men. We need to start, reevaluating that. We need to step back and say, okay, what if we devalue sexuality? What if we when I say devalue, I'm talking about the thing that pushes somebody up to the front of the line. What if we stop chasing the hot chick and start chasing the chick that keeps you hot? How about that? Because right now, sex is a commodity, and sex is something that can be quantified, even purchased, real or virtual, and that becomes a thing that we chase. We chase the hot chick, and there's nothing wrong with having your preference and what you deem as beautiful or not, and all this other kind of stuff. But in the long run, the reality is, the hot chick probably comes with a whole lot of baggage that is going to make your life a whole lot more difficult. She's going to have you slapping people on the Oscar stage. But anyhow,
no, she's not, especially personality wise.
Right.
But yeah, it's just funny because you talk about that. Like, yeah, you want a 10, she's going to 10x your problems.
Right.
And even when it comes to like the dating apps, things like that, there might be some attractive women out there, but you look at some of these pictures and you can just tell drama, high maintenance, not worth the squeeze. And so, yeah, they may be pretty, but then you think about, okay, well, if I'm in a relationship with them, and so one of the things I've said many times, and we're kind of coming back to that same thing, is, gentlemen, you don't want to go after the 10. Most likely you want to go after a 6 or a 7, somebody who might actually appreciate you and appreciate your attention and appreciate what you do. Because a lot of times, and I mean, you ladies will say it goes both ways and all this stuff, but a lot of times you ladies who maybe put out the best face, who, you know, maybe look the best, who've done the most work, and you have the big lips and the fillers and, you know, all the pictures of you on yachts and things like that. Most guys, if they're honest with themselves, they don't want that. That's just a heartache and a headache waiting because of all of the attention that you're getting. Great, that's awesome. But you're once again not using any logical linear thinking and thinking long term, because to Kirk's point, you are, yes, judged by your looks, and your sexual marketplace value tends to come from your age and your looks primarily. But as you get older, it comes from the intangible things of support and compassion and caring, the things that you don't necessarily see on the outside. So it's those internal qualities. Whereas for us men, as we get older, sometimes it's our external qualities that become highlighted. You know, as you get older as a man, you tend to become more successful. And then we have this weird dichotomy of, as men get older, they tend to look better. And so there's that kind of flip-flop thing. But it's so as we get older as men, our external things become more valuable. And that's why I think a lot of times you do see younger women with older men, because that older guy's like, well, I've done all the work. Why not get the young, hot woman? And then you get the older ladies who get mad about that. But this is just the way of the world. The reason we're doing this topic tonight is to kind of highlight the fact that 1/3 of the masculine population, the men population, is just checking out. They're not even bothering with the craziness going on out there.
And quite honestly, and again, as we get into, you know, these later segments here, I'll start to bring up some of the stuff that was talked about at that table. Matter of fact, those guys are like, man, we should come on here. I mean, these are 20-year-olds, right? Yeah. I mean, and so
young men in their prime.
And they were, I mean, these, you know, it was two good guys, like two good kids sitting at my table. I say kids because, you know, what, my son and their age, but they were, you know, these are good men. I mean, these, you know, and they weren't talking about all the superficial, shallow stuff. As a matter of fact, they were talking about that's all they experience is the superficial, shallow stuff. So these are the kind of things that that are going on in the marketplace on both sides, and these are the kind of things that you know that a lot of people are experiencing, and in particular, a lot of males, and I would say probably the younger. I don't even know about. I was about to say probably the younger they are, the more jaded they are. Which may be the case. That's not quantifiable. That's totally subjective. I think, but at the same time, I think a lot of older guys would be like, man, look, man, come on, man. Ain't nobody got no time for all these games and all this other kind of stuff. So I think a lot of the, you know, a lot of the older guys might be jaded from just even a different perspective. Maybe just like tired. Like, man, I ain't even dealing with this mess.
Just no jaded from life. Yeah, you look at, you know, I guarantee you, I know Kirk and I can talk about this. We joke about it on the golf course, you know. You can look at a hot 20-something, but in your back of your mind, all you think of is drama and headache, and I don't want it. Speaking of headaches, I don't want.
Well, you know, I want this headache.
You want this headache?
I want this smoke.
Let's take this smoke.
Let's take this break.
Yes, sir.
We'll be right back. Men of Masculinity. Boom. You want to drop berries in on the next one?
Oh, sure. Well, I almost forgot about that. I'm glad you reminded
me. Word up.
How are we going to do it? And you are allowed to comment if you're watching us live. You just go to the Men of Masculinity on Facebook page, and you can comment on this video live, and we'll see it. Or if you go to YouTube and Men of Masculinity on YouTube, you can comment live, and we'll see it. We'll make you famous.
I'll let you boys. What do you think? You agree? Disagree? Are we crazy? Are we on something? I mean, you know, ladies.
Are you mad yet?
Yeah. I mean, if you watching it, if you got different opinion, ladies, don't say it goes both ways. Please don't say it goes both ways. Yeah. I wish I had the slap sound effect. Whoosh. Man, please don't say it goes both ways. I mean, come on, come with something better than that.
You have to bring out the baby powder.
I mean, at least, you know, have a
point.
Intelligent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It goes both ways. Anyhow.
Speaking of that. Yeah. Your boys are back.
Yeah, we're back.
Back on the radio.
Men of Masculinity, KLBC 1220 AM. In the Mile High City. We're on the interwebs everywhere. Listener supported. The only support we ask from you is to hit that like, subscribe. That's it. We'll take it from there. we got a couple of sponsors, man. We got a new sponsor coming on board, man. My man Barry Overton, realtor and real estate extraordinaire here in the Denver area, but nationwide also. So yeah, hit that like, subscribe. Check us out, madmenradio.com, all that kind of good stuff. But today we're talking about the 33%.
33% of men are just checking out.
Men of Sparta.
Yes, they're just like, I'm not even gonna bother. It's just the juice isn't worth the squeeze. The ladies just aren't worth the time, and the odds are not in my favor.
It's like the Hunger Games out this joint, right, man. And so, full disclosure, I'm not in the 33%.
No, you're in the.
I am in and that being said, what's up, Jason? Jason Gant, oh man, reacted to the video. Nice. Anyhow, if there's 33%, that means there's 2 for every 1. So, there's 2 men that are in for every man that's out. But it's still not a good, it's not a good number that
well, I mean, and think about it too, like,
just peace out.
I don't know what that population is based on, what that number is based on, because I mean, if you take out already married, already out of the game, retired, over the hill, I mean, you take out all these different genres or categories, that might make that 2/3 much smaller than you think it is.
Yeah, I mean, and that's true. I mean, that 2/3 or whatever, there's some number in there that's not even on the market, that's not even looking. And so, but that being said, that 33% of just guys that, guys that are just like, yeah, no thanks. And, and I will say that I think relationships in particular, like marriage relationships, maybe across the board, we look at those things the wrong way. Maybe we look for those deep committed relationships that are all about us, that are all about, what do I get? What do I get? What do I get? Does it make me happy? And does it do this for me? And does it do that for me? When in actuality, I think, at least from a male perspective, we need to look at it as, as a noble place to be. For me, being in a committed relationship, it's a reflection of how selfish I can be as a human being, and it keeps me in the position and the posture of service. Right. And I want to be a servant. I want to be a servant to the world, to my friends, to my family. And one way that I practice servanthood on a daily basis is by being in a deep committed relationship. Now, again, that don't mean it's a one-way kind of deal, because trust me, I believe I receive more than I give. And that doesn't mean that there's no limits, because I couldn't be Will. There's limits. But at the same time, quite honestly, for me, it's a place to do that. So yeah, I mean, I think from a percentage perspective, there's some guys that are in it, and I think if you are in it, if you're looking for a long-term relationship, it shouldn't be for what you're going to get. It should be more so from what it allows you to be able to give.
Yeah, I mean, and to that point, what you're talking about, just think about the fact that we as men, at the core, our heart of hearts, want a woman and a family to serve. That's part of our purpose. That's part of our passion. It's part of the thing that makes us feel like men. And for 1/3 of that population of men just to say, I'm out. Like, they're just giving up on one of the greatest parts of being a man, being a father, being a provider, being a servant to that, wife and the family. They're just checking out. And then I think there was a statistic I talked about last episode, but it popped up, and it was just really kind of sheds a little bit of light on this whole issue. So ladies, put your big girl panties on, because this is about both of y'all. So apparently now there's new statistic that came out. 75% of lesbian marriages are ending in divorce, and the 4 complaints are the exact same complaints men have in their divorces, where they don't feel like they're important. They feel like the relationship's one-sided. There's infidelity and physical abuse. So if there's 2 ladies in a relationship and they're having the same issues, it kind of points fingers. And yeah, I hear you already. Yeah, it goes both ways, and men. Yeah, but there's a smaller percentage of men out there doing those things versus the ones that are actually trying to work. But because you have been told you're a princess and it's all about your emotions and your feelings and it's all about you, you don't fall into the servant mindset during a relationship, which when you get into a committed long-term relationship, it's about the family. It's about what you're building. It's not about you and your feels and your butterflies. It's about the relationship. And so men are seeing this, before they even go into it, and they go, well, there's really no reason for me to get committed because it's all about her. It's all about her needs and her wants and her feelings. My feelings don't matter. My wants don't matter. It's all about what I bring to the table because it's all about what she wants. And so they're saying, well, it's a no-win situation because even if I did try, then she decided to change her mind, or she doesn't quote unquote feel it anymore. She's going to take everything I've brought and provided for her and everything I've created. So, I mean, when you look at it just in this kind of mathematical equation, it doesn't make any sense. And it makes a lot more sense why a third of the men are just going, I'm out.
And I think buried in those statistics is the idea that almost all relationships end because of the woman in the relationship. Statistically, I mean, that's not anecdotal. That's those statistics. I mean, you can look up actual divorce rates and find out who the petitioner was on these divorce documents. And statistically, 80 to 90% of divorces are initiated by the woman. There are various reasons in that, but the reality is a lot of those reasons. And there's somebody that we both know that I saw posted on social media not too long ago about just how happy unhappy she was in her marriage and all this other kind of stuff. And no, he didn't cheat. No, there wasn't, but she was just unhappy. And I'm like, okay, who guaranteed you'd be happy? Again, maybe that's how we go into relationships these days. We go into relationships thinking that we're going to be guaranteed to be happy. But from a man perspective, I think the pump the brakes part of the whole thing is that if I put in everything I have and I'm willing to work at it, and I know I'm a good guy and all these other kind of things, but odds are heavily that she's going to end this relationship at some point, man, that's not an easy proposition to buy into.
Yeah, it's funny. It kind of makes me laugh because I had a conversation with a young man, and he brought up the thing. And I remember saying this when I was a young man. He was like, man, I just don't want to pay for it. And he was talking about maybe hiring a professional or whatever. And I was like, dude, you're always paying for it.
Yeah.
But here's the caveat. And this is one of the reasons older men sometimes are more easygoing when it comes to that, because they realize the joke. If you were trying to get in a committed relationship and you're like, well, I don't want to pay for it, I want a girlfriend, there's no guarantee you're going to get what you want. There's no guarantee you're going to be happy. There's no guarantee she's going to be the one to actually provide those things that you want. However, you can go out here and probably pay a whole lot less and a lot less time and get what you want. Now, it's not a promotion for the service industry, like as it were, but I mean, that's the reality that we live in today. It's not a pretty reality where you have to actually, as an older gentleman, kind of break down the reality. Like, well, yeah, you're going to pay for it one way or the other. You're paying for it, but on the relationship side of things, there's no guarantees. And when you look at it logically that way, sometimes you wonder why guys go the direction they go or why they make decisions they make. Because we would like guarantees. That's all I hear from ladies. You have to guarantee me my livelihood, my safety, your provisioning, and all these different things. And then even if you provide those things and guarantee those things for me, if I'm not happy, I'm just going to leave.
Yeah.
Well, who said you had to be happy? And that's the thing that we're kind of coming back to, is this. It has to be about my feels and me being happy for me to stay. Well, I think one of the reasons relationships and marriages lasted as long as they did in the past was because they knew it wasn't about happy. They knew it was about raising a family and being in survival and being committed and building something together. So they worked through their problems. They worked through the unhappiness and created a stronger bond. But nowadays it's like, oh, I'm not feeling it. I'm out. I'm going to take all your stuff.
Well, and that's because culturally speaking, we're only happy receiving. In our Western culture, we're only happy.
And that's shallow.
We're only happy when we get in something. We're not happy doing something or serving or giving. We don't receive in our brain chemical, endorphin, dopamine, serotonin world where we're just addicted to the feels of it all. We don't get fulfillment, and happiness is greater, or fulfillment is greater than happiness. Right, but we stick to the shallow end of the pool of happiness, and we just say, man, I just want to be happy today. I just want to feel good. I just want to feel good, and so we get addicted to stuff, even addicted to the dopamine, the feel goods, the oxytocins, all that kind of stuff. When in reality, it ain't about how you feel. I mean, we did that episode not too long ago. F your feelings, man. Forget your feelings. it ain't about how you feel always. I mean, and unfortunately, I think, especially when in the statistical numbers of most relationships being ended by the woman, everything can't be about how you feel in terms of the reality of the state of the relationship. It can't be about how you feel. And so when a guy steps into that world where we operate more out of duty and obligation, not from a negative perspective, but that's just the way we're raised. That's just the reality of being a man. And women, somebody would argue with that, and I would say, okay, how come you didn't have to register for the draft when you were 18? And so there are a lot of things that are baked into growing up as a male in America that aren't baked into growing up as a female in terms of duty and sense of obligation. You might be more duty obligated in terms of your kids, but if you had that level of commitment to your man, then maybe that 33% would see some benefit and would be like, okay, there's some return on this investment.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because when you actually do the research into happiness, and some of these scientists and psychologists have done it, it's the service-oriented people who are the most happy. The people who actually give of themselves and don't ask for anything in return, they're the most happy. It's those that feel like they're a purpose and a contribution to the world. Those are the people that are most happy. So all of this self-centered me stuff, no wonder we see such a devastating result in relationships. Plus, ladies, one of the reasons men are duty bound and obligated in that sense for the family and for service and for providing is because we have other men who are doing the same thing, who tell us and check us, F your feelings. It's not about how you feel. It's not about what you're doing. It's about them. It's about the family. It's about the bigger picture. That's not what we hear necessarily especially in the modern feminist movement. It's like, you go, girl. It's all about you. Doesn't matter how you look. Doesn't matter what he provides. If you don't feel every little butterfly and stuff, then you can go and take half of his stuff with him. And you're obligated. You're not obligated, but you're obliged, or whatever the word is. But you know what I mean? Like you have a right to take those things.
I think that's leading into this next break here. I think that's a great point, that when men get around other men, rarely do we hear the message of, you ain't happy? Oh, really? You should, girl, or guy, bro, you should just leave. You should just whatever. When guys get around other men, there's a level of accountability. There's a level of again, obligation and commitment, all those other kind of things. The general narrative, yes, there I'm sure are exceptions, but ladies, if you examine the women in your life, probably 4 out of your 5 closest friends would say, you ain't happy? Girl, you ain't happy. You can, girl, be happy. Like, happy is, girl, do your thing. You can do this, you can do that, girl, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times those are single women.
Yeah, trying to make you single.
A lot of times those are single women. And you know what make us happy right now?
A little break.
Let's take a little break.
Need a break from these single women?
Yeah, let's take a break. We'll be right back, Men of Masculinity.
When you think of buying or selling real estate, there's a name you can trust to serve your best interest. When you want knowledge and VIP service, there's one person you want. Barry Overton, Realtor.
And we're back.
Yep, we're back.
Men of Masculinity, right here on KLDC, 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City.
Mile High City.
And on the interwebs everywhere. Check us out on Spotify.
Weather's changing everything out here, man. We got to get this last little bit of golf in, man. I was driving, coming down Hamden, driving past that 8th fairway, man. It's always the 8th fairway that's next to the street.
It's the same over there, Family Sports.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Maybe that's because you kind of end the ninth. Maybe the 9th hole is back where the clubhouse is, which is near the street. I don't know, but either way, driving down there, man, it was looking good, man.
Yeah.
It was. That's all right. We here, man. We still got another month or two left.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's the nice thing about Denver. I love Denver because it still can be 50 degrees in the middle of winter. As long as there's not snow on the ground, you can play. Now, some people might have to wear their 2 jackets and their muff.
Don't judge me.
I'm telling you, somebody got some.
Don't judge me.
Can't handle that cold
I
air.
don't like being cold, man. I don't like being cold, man. Especially when I'm out there and
I'll
open
get you some
fairways
hand
and
warmers.
stuff, man. I don't like being cold, man. I'll wear extra layer in a heartbeat, man. But we had some good old golf last weekend, man. Chamber of Commerce Day. It was gorgeous out there. I wish the golf was as good as the weather.
What was it? What was it you said?
I said it was an amazing day. Average guys, below average golf. I mean, it was.
That about sums it up.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it is what it is. But man, it's been said, man. A bad day on a golf course is better than a good day a lot of other places, man. And you can find a whole lot of dudes on a golf course, man. Ladies, y'all. I'm telling you, if you want to get around with some guys, and even a lot of single guys, I think the two guys we were playing with were single.
No, the one was married.
One of them was married. That's right.
I don't know what the other dude, Brian. Shout out to Brian and Ian.
Yeah,
got stuck with us this past weekend.
I know. Feel sorry for them. We feel sorry for everybody.
Sorry you had to play with us.
Paired up with us, but anyhow.
But yeah, speaking of amazing days and average people and below average results, that's what we're seeing out in the dating world and the relationship world today. And there's a lot of onus we can put on men.
Yeah.
A lot of it is foundational. A lot of it is boundary or lack of boundaries. A lot of it is nice guy syndrome. You're not demanding from your partner things because we have been taught for the last 50 years not to demand from our partner, because now it's feminist movement and it's her rights and it's all about, it's like reparations for the ladies. They used to be stuck in the kitchen with no words and no power. So now we have to give it all back.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is the more power, the more that the ladies are getting, the more unhappy they are.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is that they've been taught and they've been sold this bill of goods that, don't worry about your family. It's about your career. And for some ladies, that's absolutely true. I know a lot of those ladies, and I see them out there and I'm like, more power to you. I couldn't do what you're doing. But for a lot of ladies, they buy into that. Young women, they're in high school and college and they're being fed that. I don't know if it's the left or right or whatever, but they're being fed this narrative of, it's all about your power and your earnings, and you can do a family later. But biologically, that's not true. So if you even feel like you might want a family, then there's certain choices and things you got to let go of. You got to have, it's everything that is a blessing is also a curse. Having your career is a blessing, but then you may be cursed of not having a family. So it's looking at the black and white and, making these decisions from a point of logic and kind of truth. And that's why we keep having these conversations, because I don't expect you to listen to us, ladies. We're just a bunch of knucklehead dudes talking to you, but we want to put it out there so maybe you ladies will start talking to each other. Because you need to start talking to each other, start checking each other, because some of y'all are losing your minds.
Yeah, somebody need to check Jada. But yeah,
but I digress.
Yeah, I digress a week or two. We gotta start listening to this narrative and listening to it, meaning actually hearing what's being told. From a lady's perspective, yeah, I mean, our priorities are off Western culture wise, ladies wise, and I know some guys that I never really expected would becoming the passport bros, and just like, yo man, I mean there's some things that are more attractive with women overseas than women here, and so we need to start listening to the narrative and actually asking, do I really want that? Like, I'm speaking to the ladies. Like, do you really want that? Do you really want to have your main identity be tied up in your work? Do you really want to have your main identity be tied up in what you produce in terms of, the masculine sense of the word and all? Do you really want to be out here grinding and all this other, like, do you really want that? Or do you really want like a partner in that can handle, that can carry the masculine load of this world so that you're freed up to be the radiant feminine that you can be? I mean, that's power. Power is not like masculine dominance, but unfortunately, a lot of women are buying into that narrative that the masculine traits that the world says you have to be is what you have to be in order to measure up. No, you don't. No, you don't at all. You can have all of the masculine weight of this world, all the stuff you don't want to do. You don't want to take out the trash. You don't want to pump your gas. I mean, these are just so trivial things, but be honest. You don't want to do that. You don't want to get out there and mow the lawn. You don't want to climb on a roof and do all this other kind of stuff. You don't want to go figure out what that noise was in the middle of the night. You don't want to have to discipline your kids. I mean, you don't want to have to be the heavy in the household. And so why are you? Because somebody told you you had to? And so women are a lot of women, not all, a lot of women are buying into that narrative and completely missing out, when in actuality, the truth is, by the way, guys, if you're in that 33%, not every woman is like that. Maybe if we work on our pickers, maybe if we begin to change the focus of our lens and the things that we, focus on and see as attractive, maybe we'll see that just like there's good guys all around us, there's great women all around us. There are women who would love to partner up with a man and to bring peace into his life and into his home, and to be what he needs to bring that femininity into his world so that he can be the masculine that he's called to be. There's a lot of women like that. They're hard to find, but they are out there. So I'm not one of those poo-poo all women are this. No, that ain't the case. There are some fantastic women out here, but we got to get better at finding them.
Yeah, no, what the problem is, a lot of those women are already taken.
Well,
a lot of them have already been, it's kind of like you get to a certain age and it's, handicap spots and leftovers, but that's true on both sides. But the thing is,
did you just say that?
Yeah, I did. But that's the thing. The thing about it is, gentlemen, you have to be willing to vet them, have boundaries, and make sure they're okay with that. Because the women I love the most now are the ones who are these young women who saw the forest for the trees, who actually took a step back, got out of their fields, actually thought rationally and go, what is going to make me the happiest and give me the best outcome? And most of those women, ironically, ladies, are not fighting against their natural feminine nature. They're not fighting against their desire to be mothers, their desire to be caretakers. And they're also realizing that they would rather be provided for, they would rather be taken care of, they would rather be in the home, not having to be masculine out in the workforce and providing and doing all those masculine things that go against their natural nature. And they're also willing to be the feminine presence in a man's life, be his support, be his backbone, be the one who makes his home a house or his house a home. They realize that's how this works. That's the yin and the yang of this thing. But when we're trying to fight against our natures and go in the opposite direction, like a lot of the nice guys you ladies have to deal with are fighting against their natures because they were raised by single mothers telling them to be good little boys without the masculine influence to say, this is how you're a good man. We've all been taught how to be good little boys. And most men in our middle age years now who had that upbringing are still good little boys. They haven't figured out how to be good men yet until they either go through the grinder, and a lot of these guys don't survive the grinder. They don't make it out the other side. That's why the self-cancellation rate is 4 times higher with men, because there's not as much support. But once they get through that other side, and then they either become out as players, bitter, or the smart ones go through therapy and counseling and find their own self, they find their own backbone, and then start becoming good sifters. Just like Kirk said, our pickers are broken. I know my picker was broke before, but it wasn't necessarily the partners I was choosing were bad, but because of my own internal trauma I wasn't aware of, I wasn't prepared to even create a foundation, to be a man, to be any of those things. And we see that a lot with a lot of the guys. But ladies, as you say, us as men always have to do better, be better. We're saying the same thing to you. You got to do better and be better. The first thing you got to do is check yourself and your girlfriends.
The reason why the women that are around us, that are in this Western culture, that are carrying this masculine expectation of what their lives are supposed to be, you're bitter, you're angry, you're frustrated, you hate the fact that you have to carry this load, but you're stuck with it. And because you don't want to admit and you don't want to change and all those other kind of things,
you want to take accountability and say, I was wrong.
I know we keep coming back to this, man, but you want to know why Jada is still in love with Tupac? Because Tupac wouldn't let her get away with the stuff that she's doing now. Tupac would have had boundaries. Tupac would have said, "Nuh-uh, sit down and no, you ain't doing all this. No, that ain't happening." The man that she has now is allowing her to do this, and she's miserable, and she hates it, and she's disgusted by it all, and that's why she's still in love with Tupac, because he wouldn't have put up none of this kind of stuff. Tupac's from the hood, just like she's from the hood, right? I mean, the real hood in Baltimore, and so, but when women are forced into that role, forced into that masculine outside the home, especially masculine inside the home, there's no structure, there's no boundaries, there's nobody to say no, all those other kind of things, she gets bitter. And so now when you have a lot of those women that have been in that relationship, they've gotten divorced, they left their ex-husbands, and now they're out here in the single world or whatever. At some point, you got to unlearn that, and at some point, guys, we can't stand for that. We got to be willing to provide boundaries. We got to be willing to say no. We got to be willing to say, this is how it's going to happen in this household. I am the house. You are the home. This is the structure that I'm providing. Here are the walls of this building. And you can only go so far in this space. And so if those two things don't happen, if we don't put down some of the masculinity on the feminine side and pick up some of the masculinity and the structure on the masculine side, then this thing will be upside down, indefinitely.
Yeah, I mean, just like the miseducation of Ms. Lauryn Hill, we had the miseducation of the modern feminist.
Mm-hmm.
All of y'all are gotten the wrong news, and you're acting the wrong way. You're acting just out of pocket, and then you wonder why it's not working. I mean, as Kirk was talking, I was thinking about, because I still look at a lot of these dating apps, and it just blows my mind. Okay, ladies, if you want to catch a man, you got to use the right bait. It's a fishing analogy. I know you don't understand fishing analogies because it's a man thing, but it's true. And when you say, I got my own house, I got my own money, I don't need a man, I want a man, you just told him there's nothing there for him to do. So why is he coming in there? I mean, this whole, you can't be this and you can't be that, and I'm going to tell you all the things you can't be, and then that's supposed to be attractive to a guy? Most guys, I mean, 80% of guys, ladies, you don't find attractive on dating apps. And we know that. That's the statistic. It's out there in the world. So we know you don't find us attractive. Now, we realize that you live in your own world, and it's optimistic nature of people to go, well, this is my experience. That must be how the whole world is. Well, when you're a young woman, the world is your oyster. You can have old men take you on yachts in Greece. You can have guys, Giuseppe pick you up as soon as you get off the plane in Italy and drive you all over the country for nothing. And you will think that's just how the world is. It's not. And I hate bringing it back up, but there was one lady who actually did an experiment and ended up canceling herself because she spent a year as a man and couldn't understand and couldn't take how men are treated. So we're just educating you on why 33% of men nowadays are just checking out. And when you sit there saying, where did all the good men go? Why can't I find a good man? And why are these guys checking out? We're telling you the answers. You don't like the answers, but you still have to listen to them if you want to learn.
Speaking of listen to,
let's listen to it.
Listen to this last break. We'll be right back. Men of Masculinity. Boom.
Oh, they don't like that.
Yeah. The truth, and the truth will set you free. All right.
Ready?
We're back.
Yes, we are.
Men of Masculinity.
This is the Mad Men Show.
Yeah, KLDC. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to our sponsors out there, man.
Shout out Barry Overton.
If you want to partner with us, make this thing happen. When we got to support the healthy masculinity. When men are better, everybody's better. The tide comes in, all boats rise, and men are the tide. When men are better, the world is better, communities are better, workplaces are better, families are better, kids are better, women are better, you name it, everything is better when men are better. So we talk about these topics. We have our sponsors that partner with us. We have people that come in with certain skills and expertise, and we help men be better. So holla at your boys.
Yeah, speaking of making men better, gentlemen, if you're in your middle years, and even if you're in your younger years now, because the studies of all the estrogen in the water, stuff like that, you may need testosterone help.
Ooh.
So make sure you check out Castle Rock Men's Health.
Ooh.
Give our boys a call. Call Dr. Lee. Call Eric. I think they're actually might be on the show soon.
Yeah,
we're gonna push them out, but it has helped my life a lot. It's helped Kirk's life a lot. I mean, I've gained muscle and lost weight. I've got energy. My brain's, I have less brain fog. So, gentlemen, if you're, trying to turn the leaf, if you want to get yourself right, then use what's out there. Sometimes better living through chemistry is a good thing.
You talked about men or women, and the bait that they go fishing with. I think you catch whatever bait you have on your hook, and you always got bait on your hook, right? But the type of bait that you use determines what you catch. And I think when you have the modern feminists out there that push the boss babe narrative, that you got to be a boss babe and you got to be this and you got to be that and you got to be all the stuff that's masculine, then you end up catching a simp.
It's true.
You end up reeling. I think I got one. Oh, I got one.
Throw it back.
And you pick it up there, and he's like, whatever you want, well, I just want to make you happy. I'm just a nice guy, and then you disgusted by it. You disgusted by him because you went down there and you got a bottom feeder. I mean, and so you got to have the right bait. But the bait that you put on the hook are the guys that you don't want. So maybe you should look at the bait you got on your hook and let that be a lesson to you in terms of what kind of fishing you're doing. Because these days, like I said, it's getting tiring to a lot of people. And
it's getting tiring to us to have to continually say the same things over and over again. Now, ladies, one thing to that bait analogy, I know you see and you hear because you've all done the success workshops and you hear about your 5 best friends, your income and your success is related to your 5 best friends. Ladies, your success in relationships will be related to your 5 best friends. And if they're all single and bitter, you're going to end up single and bitter as well. So you may need to get some new friends. You also need to learn how to swallow some accountability, look in the mirror and stop listening to your go-girl friends and actually go, what is it I'm offering? Because any smart man is going to know pretty quickly what it is you're offering by your demands, by your questions, by how you show up, by how you speak to him, by how you speak to others. And any good man is going to be paying attention to those things. Yeah. So if you show up to a first date and it's a job interview about what do you do and how much you make and what can you give me, that dude is going to next you so quick. Now, he might be nice. He might still finish the dinner and stuff like that. But, there's some guys out here jaded enough to just be like, bye, Felicia. Enjoy that check.
I love the if you haven't heard about it, go search the Cheesecake Factory date.
Oh Lord.
I love that whole thing. In terms
how dare you take me to Cheesecake Factory?
She was an hour late. He waited outside her place for an hour to go to dinner. And when she came out, they had missed the reservation. He took her to Cheesecake Factory and she sat in the car, live streamed from the car, trying to put this man on blast for how dare he take me to Cheesecake Factory.
I still think he's a nice guy for taking her home. And I would have been like, get out, Felicia.
But if you follow not only the way he handled that, but then like follow-up interviews that they've done, he is probably a nice guy. He handled it well. He probably, in my opinion, still owns that a little bit more than he should have. But either way, this entitlement mentality, there's all these other kind of things. These are red flags for guys. If you're out there, if you are in the 33%, you decided to give up, then
we know why.
Good on. Well, I say good on you because for the 66%, that's more for us, right? I mean, and for the 66%, we got to be smarter too, and we got to recognize these red flags, and we got to say, okay, I'm not doing entitled. If you're not, if you're not willing to I'm going to say put something in, not necessarily from a tangible perspective, but if you're not willing to at least offer peace in a moment or a pleasant experience as I'm doing my thing, and if you're not willing to do all that kind of stuff, we got to be able to recognize all of these red flags that make the experience a negative one for us.
Yeah, we got to talk about all the lady black holes that we see out there where it's never enough. It's never going to be enough. And when men see that, especially if they've been through the grinder already and they come out the other side, they've learned their bumps and bruises, they've licked their wounds, and now they know what they bring to the table, what their boundaries are, what their foundation is, what they're looking for. When they see that, they are going to run the other direction in a heartbeat because when we go outside, when we find somebody we want to provide for, protect, and be the man for, what we don't want is to come home to a fight every night after we've gone out and busted our butt to be that provider, to earn the money, to do those things, to be of service to our family and to our woman, to come home and then it's always about what you didn't do and look at so-and-so and all these comparisons and things like that. That's what we don't want. We want is peace. We want support. We want caring, compassion. We want your feminine nature. And so many of you have been taught about the feminine nature from the feminists who are more masculine than a lot of the men out there nowadays. And they're miserable and unhappy. And just like crabs in a bucket, they want to pull you down to their own misery just to be just like them.
Yeah. So a lot of us didn't see men in the household growing up. We didn't see that dynamic. And so a lot of our moms had to pick up some of the masculine load. And so a lot of us had mom experiences where mom wasn't necessarily able to be, the feminine, the soft, and all these other kind of things. And so on either way, from the male perspective, we didn't see it. From the female perspective, you all didn't see it. And so we're both kind of trying to figure out what this thing should look like. I would say to the guys, if you get into that scenario, if you get into the presence or interaction with a new woman in your life, dating wise, and if she exhibits any one of those traits of that modern feminist movement, bounce. Like literally do just like this, do just like this, and then do like that, and like 2 fingers, a peace sign, and then give an up nod. The up nod is like, all right, I'll holler at you. See ya. And if you want to be safe and, get her Uber home, that's cool, but don't put up with bad behavior, because a lot of them, we tolerate bad behavior and they think it's okay. But when we start to not tolerate that bad behavior in this modern feminist movement, this entitled movement, all this other kind of stuff, this non-accountability, looking in the mirror, self-reflective, all that kind of stuff. I mean, if we don't start calling that out or just leaving, just bouncing on that, then the message will never come through. But when we just decide that, I can change her. No, you can't. No, you can't. The message in our culture is way louder than you'll ever be.
Yeah. And what is really ironic about that, and why I find it so funny, with ladies would stop. And that's why I love the women who do. And I see the ones who talk about this, they stop and look at the big picture and get out of their emotions for a minute and, look at what will make them happy. The reason all of these ladies want that same 1% or less than 1% of men, because those men will tell them no. Those men are, and it's part of that naturally hypergamous nature of women, that they want to be protected by the biggest and baddest. And so they look at nowadays it's money. Used to be, it was, strength and size and everything else like that. But when they look at those things, like, what are they getting from those guys? Well, those guys don't need them. Those guys will tell them no in a heartbeat. They have boundaries and they have standards, and that's what they're looking for. And so when they can't get those guys and they try to put that on the other guy, then you have all these alpha widows who are out here going, well, I had this one guy, he gave me one night or something, and I think that's what I deserve. No, that's, most men are designed to sleep with about 85% of women out there. They will, but that doesn't mean they want to keep you. Most men want the woman who brings them peace and compassion and support. And we're not seeing that. And then you wonder why a third of men are just checking out. Now, a lot of it too is just socioeconomic. The court system, and we talked about this quite a bit. I mean, we had David Pizarro on, who's a divorce attorney. We had Jude, who's, divorce advocate. It's just not pretty out there. And so ladies, unfortunately, I'm sorry for most of you, if you want a good man who has his stuff together and who would be like a great partner for you, you're going to have to show him that you're bringing a bunch to the table and that you're not going to buy into this feminist narrative. You're not going to buy into this legal system that is all about the mom and taking the kids away from the dad, because so many guys are gun shy. I'm one of them. Like, I desperately would like to have a family, but when I see what Kirk has gone through and a lot of my other friends have gone through, it's not a good look. Doesn't make me enthusiastic about going down that way.
And what our sons are experiencing are young ladies who are so masculinated that their body counts are off the charts. Like, these young ladies, their body counts are just, like they're playing video games out here, man. They, and it gives them a warped sense of value, a warped sense of reality. And so our sons are like, yeah, no, thank you. If all they care about is just hitting and quitting, and, then what good is it for me to even care about a relationship? And so, these are what our young men, our sons are experiencing now. Just the off the charts level of thinking from this next generation of females. They're so wounded and abused and broken and bitter. And like I said, they see their bodies as playgrounds and their body counts are off the charts. And, my sons, they were sitting at the table like, we don't want that.
Yeah.
We don't want to be walking at the mall and every other guy that walks by the mall is like, looking at her like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, that was a fun ride.
And so, these are kind of things that are out there, and we need to begin to consider these. And so, I don't know about the actual number of 33%, but I can definitely see that there's, and like I said, even speaking to the next generation, there's a chunk of guys that are just like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, and that's why we keep coming back to accountability, ladies, because what we hear is it's always on the shoulders of the men. Like, it's always the men's fault. Why should my body count matter? Well, because scientifically, if you've been with more than 5 men, you are 100% less likely to pair bond with your partner. Plus, it's just not a good look. I mean, when you take away what is valuable about you, which is exclusivity for the men, and then all ladies like, oh, well, they're shaming me. No, a man wants to be able to assure paternity. And when you got triple digits in your body count, there ain't no way. Plus, now you can't pair bond successfully. So there's no way he can trust you to be his partner. And these are just facts. These are just scientific facts that are out there. So a little bit of accountability, ladies, will take you a long way, especially with today's men.
So these are challenges that men, older men, middle, whatever you want to call it, are facing, especially those in the dating scene, the dating market. These are this is kind of the mentality. This is why men are doing the passport thing these days, and at the same time, this is also the mentality of what your sons are going through. And the next generation is teed up to be worse than the current in terms of what that experience is like. I mean, we're getting further and further away from normalcy. That it's just getting way out of whack.
Yeah, and one of the things to the point before, like when the high body count, what I keep hearing from a lot of ladies is like, well, all men want is sex. Well, if that's all you're offering and all you're providing, then that's all they want.
Yeah.
If you're not offering anything of substance, of the the kind of the unmentionable quiet things like support and feminism and compassion and nurturing, then he's going to take what he can get.
Right.
So speaking of taking what we can get,
we won't get out of here.
I guess we better get out of here before we get in trouble. We love y'all. Make sure you get on YouTube, Men of Masculinity. Like and subscribe, hit that bell icon. And until next time, Mad Men out.